Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 60. In the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of night and day, in the ships that sail the ocean bearing cargoes beneficial to man, in the water which God sends down from the sky and with which he revives the earth after its death, scattering over it all kinds of animals, in the courses of the winds and in the clouds pressed into service between earth and sky, there are indeed signs for people who use their reason. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. The vast universe spread out before us serves as a magnificent introduction to God. The existence of a limitless world in the form of the earth and the heavens is a proof that there must be a creator behind it. Despite apparently different and contrasting elements, all things work together in absolute harmony, showing that their creator and sustainer is the one and only God. Then the fact that every single thing benefits the rest of the universe in some manner or the other shows that all things have been designed according to a definite and absolutely conscious plan. Apparently, lifeless objects are invested with life through a natural process. This shows that death is only a temporary phase in this universe. Here, death is always followed by new life. Every variety of animate creature flourishes in this world in huge numbers. All are being sustained by varied forms of the same food and drink, indicating the unfathomable power of God. The atmosphere totally encompassing the earth shows that man's life is entirely in his Creator's hands. Everything in this universe has been tamed to cater to man's needs. This is indicative of the fact that man's Creator is a highly compassionate being. Even before an individual has been born into the world, all his requirements have already been taken care of. The presence of all these signs in the universe are reflections of the Creator in his creation. The universe displays God's very existence and his oneness on a vast scale. It is an amalgam of every aspect of perfection, so that no one with any vision or even a grain of intelligence can fail to discover him in it. But these signs, spread all over the universe, serve as proofs of God's existence and his role as sustainer of the entire universe, only to one who sincerely reflects on these signs. For to be able to arrive at the truth, one has to be sincere in one's search for it, and one has to rise above worldly considerations before drawing one's conclusions. This can be achieved only by total absorption, not in externals, but in the search for the inner reality that lies beneath the outward surface of things. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 61. Yet there are some who set up equals with God and adore them with the adoration due to God, but those who believe love God most. If only the wrongdoers could see, as they will see when they face the punishment, that all power belongs to God, and that God is severe in punishment. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. By their nature and circumstances, human beings always look for an external support, a being who may compensate for their feelings of helplessness and may serve as a source of confidence and conviction. To make someone a part of one's life in this capacity is akin to accepting that being as a deity. When a being or an object is taken as a deity, it is assumed to be someone or something worthy of being worshipped. It necessarily entails that all one's feelings of love and devotion become exclusively reserved for that being or object. Their own nature compels human beings to have some focus for all their feelings of love, devotion, and reverence. And whatever becomes the focus of these emotions is held to be God. That is, that object has been accorded the status of divinity. Since God remains invisible in this present world, one who judges things by appearances tends to accord some visible being the status due only to the Almighty. Such beings are generally leaders who, because of certain marks of distinction, become the center of public attention. This vacuum in human nature was in actual fact to be filled by God Almighty, but many people chose something or someone other than God for this purpose. This happens when ordinary human beings, seeing someone surrounded by visible pomp and splendor, are impressed by certain special talents or qualities. When they find certain individuals occupying seats, sanctified by centuries-old traditions, when at times they are impressed by the large following which certain people enjoy, and when they see public figures surrounded with the halo of mysterious legends. Being ordinary mortals themselves, they come thus to regard certain persons as possessing extraordinary power and therefore superior to the common man. But the truth is that in this universe of God, no one save God possesses any power or greatness. Man may continue to receive the status of divinity only for so long as God remains invisible. But when God appears on doomsday, the state of affairs will change so drastically that people will flee from one another. Today, people take great pride in their association with and devotion to great men. They think that they are clinging to a firm rock which will surely help them in the hereafter. Such association will prove meaningless on doomsday, as if they had never existed at all. Man will look at his past life in despair, but he will be utterly helpless to rectify the situation. He will be able to do nothing but regret his past deeds. Chapter 2. The Heifer, page 62. When they face their punishment, those who have been followed will disown their followers, and all their ties shall be cut asunder. Those who followed will say, if we could only return to the world, we would disown them as they have disowned us. God will thus show them their actions as a cause of bitter regret and remorse. They shall never emerge from the fire. O mankind, eat whatever is lawful and wholesome on the earth, and do not follow in the footsteps of Satan, for he is indeed your avowed enemy. He bids you only to do evil and to commit deeds of abomination, and to attribute to God something of which you have no knowledge. But when they are told, follow what God has sent down, they answer, we will follow the ways of our fathers, even though their fathers did not use their reason and were devoid of all guidance. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. What is polytheism? It is the worship of something other than God in order to satisfy one's feelings of devotion and veneration. God is the greatest and most essential need of man. The urge to worship God is so integral to human nature that no one can live without him. Man's going astray does not mean that he abandons God altogether. What actually happens is that the real God is replaced by a false God. That is why the Islamic law holds unlawful all those things which, in any degree, lead to deviation, i.e., diverting man's natural desire for God in some other direction. The polytheists set certain animals free in the name of their deities. These animals are not used for food or service. This is akin to according divinity to an object, a divinity which is a prerogative of none save God. It is akin to diluting man's natural feelings of reverence and devotions meant only for God, and which should be exclusively reserved for God alone. Satan encourages human beings to channelize their feelings of awe and reverence onto different paths in order that their attachment to God may be weakened. Chapter 2. The Heifer, page 63. Those who deny the truth are like animals which hear nothing in your call but the sound of a voice, without understanding its meaning. They are deaf, dumb, and blind. They understand nothing. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. Once an object, which is not God, is accepted as God as a result of man's superstitious attitude, many other accompanying evils ensue. An animal may come to be regarded as possessing supernatural powers, something possessed only by God. That animal is then held to be a means of achieving proximity to God and is expected to be a source of blessings. In the next generation, all these superstitious beliefs become firmly rooted in the human psyche and are upheld with great zeal and fervor as the sacred way of the forefathers. At this stage, people become resistant to any rational analysis of these superstitious beliefs. The situation deteriorates further with succeeding generations. People reach a level where they are totally unable to hear or understand any argument put forward to them. They act as if they have neither eyes nor ears to see and hear, nor brains to give thought to any argument presented to them. Chapter 2. The Heifer, page 64. Believers, eat the wholesome things which we have provided for you and give thanks to God if it is Him you worship. He has forbidden you only carrion, blood, and the flesh of swine, also any flesh that is consecrated other than in the name of God. But for one who is driven by necessity, neither craving nor transgressing, it is no sin, for God is forgiving and merciful. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. Human beings should feel thankful and obedient to God while eating food and drinking water. They should express themselves thus: in accordance with God's commandment, we are eating and drinking what God has provided us with. These emotions evoke in a man the feeling of true devotion to his Maker. But this psychological makeup changes in the case of self-styled beliefs. In that case, man's attention is diverted to the supposed properties of the things he consumes. Therefore, the same divine blessing which is meant to produce feelings of thanksgiving evoke instead feelings of veneration for material objects. Under the influence of such false beliefs, man comes to accord the position of creator to the created. If something is held unlawful by God, it is not owing to the sacredness of that thing, but rather because it is something impure, or the divine law has testified to its uncleanness, e.g., carrion, blood, swine, or an animal sacrificed in the name of some idol instead of in the name of God. In cases of extreme necessity, where a man's life may be at stake, he may eat food otherwise forbidden, for instance when suffering extreme hunger and when no other food is available, or in illness, or other such circumstances as may compel him to do so. However, it is essential that such forbidden food should not be taken simply for the pleasure of the palate. That is, one must remain within the bare limits of necessity. Chapter 2, the Heifer, page 65. Those who conceal any part of the scriptures, which God has revealed in order to gain some paltry end, simply fill their bellies with fire. On the day of resurrection, God will neither speak to them nor purify them. They will have a painful punishment. Those are the ones who have taken error in exchange for guidance and punishment for forgiveness. How little do they seem to fear the fire! That is because God has sent down the book with the truth. And those who pursue differences in the scriptures go much too far in dissension. Commentary by Maulana Wahiduddin Khan. When superstitious beliefs about prohibitions have been accepted by the masses as religious beliefs and held sacred, the religious scholars of the community fail to muster enough courage to declare openly that those beliefs have nothing to do with true religion, for they are afraid that if they did so, they would be severing themselves from the general public to whom they owe their popularity. They may revel in such compromises as bring them wealth and honor, but in the eyes of God, they are the worst offenders. Hiding the truth for worldly considerations is not one of those offenses that God will ignore in the hereafter. These are in fact crimes that deprive man of God's mercy. Worse still are those who, instead of accepting the truth when it is presented to them, start engaging in meaningless discussions. They develop a propensity to divisiveness, and ultimately they stray so far from the truth that there remains no chance of their returning.